Coming up on episode 68 of Creative Writing, I'm talking with Chef Maria from Eat Cleaner all about using Facebook Live.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight.
Hello, and welcome to episode 68 of Creative Writing. I'm your host, Kirsten Oliphant, and you are in the right place if you are a writer, blogger, or creative trying to build an online platform without being smarmy. So today's episode, I'm really excited to bring you Chef Maria from Eat Cleaner, and she is just phenomenal and has been running a Facebook Live cooking show for the last 5 or so months, which is really amazing. And so we're talking all about Facebook Live, some of the nitty-gritty and the tech that she uses, but also what it looks like to build an audience and to really connect with your audience through Facebook Lives. This is a really exciting interview. It gave me a lot to think about and some challenges that I want to go and actually apply. So I feel like I don't want to say that out loud because then you might hold me accountable if you're in my Facebook group to see if I'm actually going to use live more. In any case, it's a great interview and it will give you some things to think about. Before we jump into that, I wanted to thank you guys for listening and ask for a favor. And I mentioned this last week in episode 67, but I am trying to get a better hold on who my actual listeners are. And some of you I know because you listen and also connect on Twitter or in our Facebook group or on the Creative Writing site. But some of you I know are just out there listening and I don't know who you are. So there's a really quick 5 or less question survey from Libsyn, who is my podcast host. And you can find that at creativewriting.com/pod survey. And I would love it if you guys could take a few, I don't even think it'll take a minute. Honestly, I think you could do it in about 30 seconds. Time yourself so you can do it the fastest, but just take that little bit of time to help me get to know you guys a little bit better. And then I'd love to connect with you in more places. So if you are listening, I don't want you just to listen and not actually connect. I'd love to know you're out there. So please do come join the Facebook community where we do a lot of talking. And that's creativewriting.com/community. Okay, I want to get into this interview with Maria and I'll have a few more things to say at the end, so stick around for the end of the interview. Welcome. I have Maria from Eat Cleaner, and I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, I connected with you because you are one of the speakers for Blog Her Food, and I have to say I was super, super impressed with your Facebook page and all of, you're doing a live cooking show there.
Yes.
how many days a week? I don't think I even noticed. I just went in and was like, oh my gosh.
I was doing it every day, 7 days a week. And I did 100 episodes based on 7 days a week. And then I just decided that was kind of a lot to keep going on that pace. So I've dialed it back to about 4. And I have to tell you, it's the best thing. And I think one of the best platforms I've ever used to reach our customers.
That's awesome. Well, I want to dive deeper into that. But first, tell us a little bit about who you are, kind of where you are now, and the sort of fast forward version of your story of how you kind of got here.
Sure. Well, I am a 24-year veteran of the food industry. I've touched a lot of different aspects, from being a chef to being a holistic nutritionist to being a marketing and PR person to running events. So I've pretty much touched it all. And I am just a foodie through and through. I love talking about it. I love making it. I love empowering people to enjoy it so that it's demystified. And I started a company called Grow Green Industries, and we manufacture a line of products called Eat Cleaner. So there's a physical product called Eat Cleaner, which is a line of fruit and vegetable wash and wipes that addresses bacteria, pesticide residue, and wax on your fresh produce while helping it last longer. So that's kind of the physical product. But then on the other side of our business, I really teach people how to enjoy food as a lifestyle and embrace this idea of eating clean And for me, that really means eating as close to as nature intended. It's not necessarily being vegan or being, paleo. There's no real label per se. It's more about just eating as clean, without chemical pesticides and preservatives and additives and colors. Just what your grandparents ate, basically.
Which is really hard to do these days. I feel like it's not easy to do that.
Well, and that's what I thrive on. I thrive on teaching people how to do it simply. And that's where the Facebook Live show has taken on such a cool dimension because I can show in 20 to 25 minutes how to make a recipe from beginning to end.
Which is so amazing. And, I just kind of wondered, like I went in and watched some of the videos and they were really fantastic. But I kind of just wondered, so Facebook Live is a pretty new platform. I'd love to hear how you got started and, were you using something else beforehand or did you just kind of hear about the platform and you're like, I'm going to do a cooking show? Like, how did that come to be?
Well, we had built up a really pretty awesome following on Facebook. And I thought, boy, when they announced that they were going to open up Facebook Live to everybody, it wasn't just for the celebrities or people with like 1 million followers. I thought, wow, what an awesome way to really leverage this because Facebook is favoring the live platform, even more so than just uploading native videos. So you can get a tremendous reach. I'll give you an example. I started doing these in April, the end of March, really seriously, beginning of April. And come Mother's Day, I did a Mother's Day episode with my mom, and we got over 4 million reach.
Wow,
With
that's
our
incredible.
video. And the day before that, I did a teaser, and I did how to make a restaurant worthy Mother's Day brunch, and that got almost 2 million reach. So I was definitely like, there's something here. There's something where we can reach people in a really dynamic way that is very I love the live aspect because it's just there's no smoke and mirrors. If I drop something or I cut myself, like there's no editing there. And so I think what it's really done for me is it's allowed me to connect with people in a very authentic way. And they see my kids, I'm in my kitchen. I run a business and, I'm doing this. So it's like I've got lifers because of this platform and we call them our fit tribe. And they identify themselves as part of this tribe and they interact with each other and they talk to each other when I'm live and they're really upset when they miss the live. So it's taken on kind of an animal of its own. It's pretty cool.
I think it's really neat. And I love what you said about sort of the authentic view of people seeing it as it happens because, I was just reading an article and about one of the, Food Network chefs and it was like the 5 truths you don't know. And it sounded just clickbaity. So it wasn't actually, I was like, really? Those were your 5 truths? But when you look at kind of any of the behind the scenes, like behind the scenes HGTV, behind the scenes Food Network, any of these things behind the scenes, you've got chefs making food and tasting it. This is delicious. And then they hit cut and then they're spitting into a spit bucket, apparently. There's a whole lot of we all know this, right? Like we know that what we're seeing is not what we're getting, but with Facebook Live, you are, which I feel like is really cool, but also really stressful. In some ways, I feel like for some people, they'd be like, I can't, there's too much, anything could happen, which is the cool part. But also if you're the creator, kind of, I don't know, does that stress you out or is that kind of refreshing?
The funny part is that I get more stressed out from planned video shoots than I do live because I'm going into it just with the understanding that, I know my skill and I know what I'm able to do. So why be nervous? If something like I plug something in and it doesn't work, like, oh, well, that's just part of, again, the authenticity of it. And I think people really appreciate that. And, when it comes to the tasting, I kind of like to challenge myself and I always kind of guinea pig it on my kids. And I have a 10-year-old that can't lie. So if I'm asking him to taste test and he's like, Mom, this is really good, I think our viewers just have that much more faith in what I'm doing because they're like, wow, the 10-year-old is like, this is really good and he's super picky. So I think it really, it sheds a light on food to me in a different way that doesn't make it so unobtainable and so complicated and eating healthy and eating clean is so hard and expensive. I want to take all of that out and do it in an atmosphere where people just see it in a family's kitchen, and it's real and it's unedited.
Yeah. And I think, your kitchen looks clean because I've watched your videos, but like, there's a difference between like a real kitchen and like the kitchen you see on the TV cooking shows, right? Like we know that's for most of them. There's a few that they're actual homes, but, I like this kind of idea of pulling back the curtain. And I feel like people are hungry for that. They're hungry to see that real view. And, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is a great traffic driver for me. I love putting food posts up there and looking at all the pretty food. But whenever I do a food post, I've started kind of posting a picture, like backing up from the pretty one to show all the stuff in the background. Like, look at this beautiful cheesecake. And then here's the rest of my kitchen, which is like, there's pots. I've dirtied every dish in the kitchen and everything's a huge mess, but I have the lighting just right for the piece of cheesecake, on the plate. And I think people love that because there's the sense that we all know, everything isn't perfect. We know that it's real life. And so your show is great because you seem very comfortable and it's definitely your real life. And I do think it makes it more accessible. So I think you found a perfect platform for you. And, I kind of wondered, do you have, like, in terms of the tech setup and stuff like that, what is your process for like setting up a video and what do you use?
It's so high tech. Like literally my iPhone on a tripod, which is hilarious because I have to jimmy rig it because now Facebook doesn't allow you to do it horizontally. You have to do it vertically. So I literally have this gorilla tripod that's jimmy rigged on a vase so that I can have it perpendicular. And then I have a really good ring light. I do have to say I invested in a good ring light. It makes all the difference in the world with the lighting, and that's it. I mean, literally, I put it on the tripod and I go. And I'm surprised when people tell me like, "Wow, your setup looks really professional. Like, what do you do?" And I'm like, I literally have this $5, tripod, but the ring light's really awesome. So it was a low startup cost. I kind of just set it up to where there's some cute things in the background that you see, like my Route 66 sign, and my this kitchen is powered on coffee and love, and that's about it. The rest is just my real working kitchen, and it's set up on I have an island, and yeah, it's just it's so refreshing and so open and honest for me because sometimes what you don't see is I do have a sink full of dishes, but I've pointed the camera in a way that you can't see it.
And that's okay because I think sometimes like there's too much reality too. Sometimes like we get distracted by stuff. Like there's probably like a few people who'd be like, the dishes are making me crazy, who would be
I don't want you to
by
necessarily see those, but I do, when I'm working and I point the camera down and I'm like, okay, you can see what's on my workbench. That's just real. That's just unfolding. And what's important to me is that I don't do really any pre-prep because I want to show how easy it is to do it from beginning to end, and show them how to chop, show them how to, here's how I measure. And sometimes it's just an estimate, but I don't pull out all the measuring spoons and stuff. I want people to feel confident that they can estimate it with their eye. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of really how I cook at home. And oftentimes the kids will get in there and they'll, that's never planned. Sometimes my daughter will say things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just said that. But, again, I think that's what's endeared people to us. And in fact, I got a message just yesterday from the agency that does work for Facebook. And they're like, well, we've been watching your videos and we like what you're doing. And it was like mic drop, I was like, wow, the big people at Facebook are actually watching. So, it's kind of crazy. You get people that interact in a conversation with you, but you never know who's watching. You never know what feed that video has ended up on. And all of a sudden, your passion and what you're doing can reach millions of people. And to me, that's just amazing. That's amazing that I could be broadcast in somebody's home in Australia or New Guinea. You know what I'm saying? And know that they've maybe learned something that they didn't know, or I've helped to enlighten them on a food subject that I feel is really important and can help to save their lives.
Yeah, it's really neat. I think it's fun for me to watch. Like, I don't use Facebook Live a lot. it's one of those things like I plan to do, but it's just not fitting right now with where I am. But I love to watch and see how people are using these cool tools, especially ones that are kind of like disruptive in a way. Like they're surprising, like, hey, we're suddenly going to give you access to live video on Facebook, and suddenly people can just have their own cooking show, where this is like, how could this have been possible before? I mean, and you could do YouTube and YouTube Live, but I feel like Facebook, everybody's already on there. And there's a lot of people on YouTube and other spaces, but Facebook, people are just kind of camp out there and live there and are there. And so these live videos and then Facebook rewarding them, it's just neat to see, I think, the possibilities. So I love hearing that.
Yeah. And I started on Periscope, and what I found was, and it's, and I think it really ends up being a very personal thing where you plant your roots, so to speak. But I think it's important to plant it in a place and really grow it. But we already had the following on Facebook. And I thought to myself, when Facebook allows me to do this, I'm definitely going to do it on Facebook because we had that following, but it just wasn't even open to people like us. Now that it is, oh my gosh, it's like, it's the new frontier, and you can really plant your flag there and grow. I mean, I get to interact with people that literally, this is the craziest part. These people, if I needed something, they would be at my doorstep, and I've never met them before. I mean, they're that loyal and supportive. I get messages that are just so endearing and amazing. And I just think to myself, wow, I have this, I'll call them an extended family that I feel very close to and very involved with, that I interact with, and that it just feeds my fire. To me, I get as much of a kick out of it, I hope, as they do, but it's very addictive. When I'm not on, I miss it.
Yeah. Well, you kind of touched on this a little bit in terms of messages and things you've heard from people, but can you kind of talk to maybe the changes that have taken place in your audience since you started using live versus before?
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. So the way I use the platform is to communicate visual things, but also to communicate important messages. So normally I'll do like a meatless Monday, and I'll talk about the benefits of dialing back your meat intake from an environmental standpoint. And Tuesday, it's almost always Taco Tuesday, just because that should be a national holiday. I mean, come on, you know.
Yeah.
This week it was Thai Tuesday, just to mix it up a little bit. But, we have themes that we do. And what I find is people will get very interested in those certain themes. And I can then cross promote different things that we have uh, in our online store. So I might make a recipe from our meal prep club, which I created a meal prep program. It's a 12-week meal plan. It's all nutritionally balanced, and I can make a dish from there. And then I can say, hey, check out my meal prep club. If you sign up today, you'll get an extra 25% off. So it's real life, opportunity. And I can also do giveaways. So there's a lot of fun things to be able to encourage them to sign on and be part of the live show rather than watching the replay is great, but being part of the live conversation is really fun. So it's helped with actually growing my sales and cross-promoting things that require a little bit more explanation. I also pretty much without fail use our Eat Cleaner products whenever I do a live show. So they get to actually see it in use. And I think that's priceless, because when you go into a retail store, or even you buy something online, you always want to see how it works. So I'm getting a chance to do that, and it's seamless. I'm not there saying buy my products. I'm saying I'm making you a dish and here's how I use it. So I think, again, I'm going to use the word authentic. It's an authentic integration of the product line. And I think the third big thing is I get to answer questions. So it's real life Q&A where, and I also get to shout people out, and people love to hear their name shouted out. Come on, let's face it.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll get the comment, "Oh my gosh, you just said my name." Like, they're super excited about being part of that dialogue. And so what it's done is it's brought them to me because they want to be part of something, and then they're part of something else because they're interacting with each other. and I see them friend each other on Facebook, and they're truly part of this virtual tribe. So we're creating an online community, and we're sharing knowledge, which, I think in our day and age, there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it's hard to know who to trust. But
Yeah.
them trusting me means everything to me, and I want to show up and give them what they need to know and give them valuable content. I think that's the really important thing if anybody is thinking about starting a show, is you want to show up with value. And you know, I'm not knocking the cat videos, but I'm just saying, like, show up with something that's going to make me want to watch you every day in and day out, and show up to you live. And that's what I want to deliver to my viewers.
Well, and have you seen like a big increase in terms of like how people are engaging with you since you started doing video versus like before when you had the page? Like, has it been that trackable for you to see kind of how the community has become more vibrant?
Oh, it's like night and day difference. I mean, we went from, and Facebook has gone through its various stages throughout the years, but we started 6 years ago. And when we would post something, we would get 200, 300 likes easy. And then when the algorithm started to change and it started to be a scenario where you really needed to boost your posts or
Yeah.
do paid advertising, we were lucky if we were getting a like. Now when we do a Facebook Live, we'll have over 150, sometimes upwards of 300 comments and astronomical reach. So, it's exponential. And I see it in our interactions. I see it in our shares.
Hmm.
I see it even in our paid advertising, we get better traction. So I think all in all, it's helped, kind of prime the page, so to speak. I don't know if that term is familiar, but when you have higher watched videos that you're either sharing or creating, you end up bringing more eyeballs to your page in general. So it's helped to prime our page and grow our organic reach substantially. I mean, like 300% and more.
That's insane. It's really neat to hear how this is working because I hear a lot of people talking about Facebook Live and you should use it, but these are like really specific actionable things. And I love the idea of, how you're saying you can promote your products in there. And, I love that you have physical products as well, which I think is, we are in a world where everybody's creating digital products. And so I think physical products are so cool when people do that, because I'm like, I don't even know how you get started. But doing that naturally, I mean, we all know natural advertising works better than
Definitely.
like, here's a moment for our sponsor. That doesn't work as well on us as when we see people actually using a product and talking about in that way, and to have you using it. And I wonder just for a minute if you could even talk about just how you even get started if somebody wants to create a physical product, because I do hear these questions and I'm like, let me direct you to somebody else. But what does it take to kind of like, and I know that's a huge question, but what does it take if somebody has this idea for a physical product that they want to do? What are the kind of the general steps you have to take?
I would say, first of all, you've got to have cojones of steel. It's not for the weak-hearted. I think, first of all, when I first started Eat Cleaner, I looked around and I thought to myself, what do I really believe in? And where do I see a void in the market? And what I saw was people eating a lot of, quote, organic food and, wanting to do better, but still really relying on a lot of packaged products when, fruits and vegetables really needed to be front and center. And then I dove deeper and explored, why aren't they eating them? And then that led me to my father getting cancer and being told to avoid raw fruits and vegetables. So it was sort of this journey that I went on that led me to creating the product, and also having a very personal story that sort of clinched the deal for me. I thought, if my dad has to avoid raw fruits and vegetables, and those are exactly the things he should be eating, then we have a problem. So I would say the first thing is really identify what makes your heart leap out of your chest because you're so excited about it. And then two, figure out, has somebody else done it? And maybe how do you do it better? Or how do you do it more efficiently? Or how do you focus on a certain target audience to make it that much more relevant to them? You got to do a lot of research. I mean, I think, it's great to be an entrepreneur and inventor, but you give birth to another child, and you're in it for the, I mean, I went into it with the definite idea that I would not fail.
Yeah.
And failure was not an option. And I'm a single mom, so for me it really wasn't an option. I left a six figure stock options job to start my company. So, I would just ask yourself all those questions and really understand what are the business metrics that I have to achieve in order for this to be successful, and get a coach.
Hmm.
I was lucky enough to get a coach early on that helped me to do, a financial analysis and a business plan and really put the numbers to it. Not that you're going to live by those numbers, because the fact of the matter is things change, but
Yeah.
at least to do your homework first and foremost. And we patented our product line. So understanding, if you want to patent your IT, what does that entail? Has it been patented before? Has it been trademarked before? Simply starting by looking up your desired URL and buying it and parking it, is a good idea too, because you might have a widget you want to create, and there are 5 different variations of the same name that you want to create. So finding it, does it even exist? Because that's how people are going to find you, is through the website URL. And digging around, and when you do decide what you want to do, using your friends and your family and people around you as a big sounding board.
Hmm.
And as many people from as many different demographics and walks of life, unless you're going to get really targeted. Because in your own mind, it sounds like a phenomenal idea, but until you start really bouncing it off of people in a real life scenario, in a test market, before you launch, is really, I can't recommend that more strongly. And there are a lot of great ways to do it, and people around that can help. And certainly, I've helped to mentor other people and help them launch their brands, which has been really fun for me too. I helped to launch an organic lemonade brand, and it was awesome. I helped to do everything from the packaging to the outreach to even the flavors of the lemonade. So it's a very, I can't even describe how proud you feel when that product is actually launched and in people's hands. And I think that's what makes it so amazing. It's like every day I get to see people talk about my product line and talk about how it's changed their lives. And that is the ultimate blessing. But the road to get there has not been easy. And I think if anybody tells you otherwise, I think they're kind of not telling you the whole truth.
And there are definitely a lot of people selling that out there for sure, that the quick 6-figure stuff, which drives me a little bit crazy. So it's good to hear that like it's possible to do the things you want to do and to do the dream, but it's work. Like it may be work you love, but it's work. It's not, unless it's a fluke. Like there are the people that things just happen, but for the most part, there's a whole lot of work you don't see.
There is. And the overnight success, usually there's years of behind the scenes before that quote overnight success happens. Or maybe there's a myriad of things, and I don't know what the exact statistics of businesses that launch and fail are, but I think the bottom line is really do the pre-work, and know your audience, know your market like the back of your hand. So when you do talk about it, you're credible.
Hmm.
You don't have to be an expert in a certain area to be credible, which is 2 very different things. You can know enough about your field and have lived it and dove in so deep that you have enough knowledge to be able to speak about it intelligently, and maybe you've never been to school for it. So knowledge is different than a degree per se, but the knowledge is really important.
Yeah. And I think that comes through, especially, we've mentioned authentic a bunch of times in this interview. And I think there's a reason that keeps coming back. People are hungry for it. And I think when you're doing something like Facebook Live or really connecting on a more vulnerable way with your audience, people love that. But it becomes pretty clear if you're faking stuff out or if you're not really, it's not even always about knowledge. Like I see a lot of people promoting things. I'm like, I don't think they believe in that because last month they promoted something else, that was really different than this. And so I think it really helps when you are real with your people, and I love, when people ask me questions, if I don't know it, I'm like, man, that's just not my thing. Let me ask the person who is, I'll go find the other expert for you, and
it's
admit
so
that.
True. Yeah. That veil of truth is really, it's a thin one. People can see through that. And my mentor, her name is Shalene Johnson. She's a very well-known fitness celebrity and entrepreneur. And she's created these amazing programs that have really helped me. And she's coached me personally. And the one thing that always has stuck out from what she's taught is tell your story. People really love a story, especially when it's something that moves them or just feels so, you can hear a story and be so endeared to somebody and be like, okay, what you got? I want to buy it. Because people don't always just buy products. They buy people. They buy, what I like you. I want to do business with you.
Yeah.
I think you're a cool person. I think your story is amazing. I see that, you're telling me the truth. And that really comes across on a live platform like Facebook.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on to share your story because I think the story matters. And I think that you have shared your story, but also some really great and actionable tips. So if people are not using Facebook Live, consider how it would work for whatever your brand is, because it's not like you have to have a cooking show. Whatever it is that you're doing, I think you can use that and you will find an audience that is hungry for that authentic connection to you. So thank you so much, Maria. And I really look forward to meeting you in a couple weeks at Blog Her Food.
Thank you so much. And I just really am grateful for this opportunity and to be able to connect with everybody out there. So thank you.
I love where this interview ended, talking about story and how a live platform, even though for me, sometimes this is scary because it's full of opportunities to mess up and make mistakes. And I feel like the stakes are really high, but I loved how Maria talked about the stakes in some ways being lower because people know it's live. They're not expecting that polished video. In fact, I've seen a few Facebook videos that were live and were weird because they were almost so polished. It just felt off. And so I appreciate her sharing about the authenticity and how that works for her. And I can't imagine the pressure of doing a cooking show. So really anything that I do on Facebook Live is going to be a lot easier than that. So I don't know if this challenged you. I would love to hear from you to see if this is something that you are already doing or are thinking about doing or now have the courage to do because of this interview. So come on over and leave a comment on the show notes, createifwriting.com/068 for episode 68. And I would love for you to connect with Maria. You've got to see some of these cooking shows. They're really fantastic. So you can find her at facebook.com/eat cleaner. And you can also find her at eatcleaner.com. But on Facebook, on her page, that's where you're going to find all the live videos and the really fun, exciting personality that you heard in this interview. So definitely go see what she's doing, be inspired from what she has built over there and kind of the things that she has learned and shared in this interview with us, all about how to use Facebook Live to connect with an audience. Because that's what it's really about, right? We're all here because we want to build an audience, whether you are a writer trying to put out fictional books, or if you are someone who is building a blog and want to monetize and make money through your blog, we're all building audience. And there's a lot for us to learn. So I'm really thankful to Maria for taking the time. This was, again, one of my, in the series of food bloggers as I lead up to speaking at Blog Her Food in just a couple of weeks. The days are counting down, so I'm really excited and need to get ready for that speaking engagement. I feel like I more mentally need to pump myself up for being on like a stage 8 months pregnant, which is what I am. Essentially, it's exciting. So a couple more quick things before I close out this episode. I have some really exciting things coming up and I want you guys to know about them. So here's what's going to happen in the next 6 weeks before I have a baby. And if I do say them on here, then you're going to hold me accountable, right? In some way. So 3 really big things. And 2 of them are kind of beta, but they're still big. Okay. So the first thing is that I'm going to be launching a membership site. And this is going to be happening, I would say, in the next week or 2. It's going to be beta. I'm only launching it to you, listener, and also to my Facebook community and my email list. There's a lot of crossover between the 3, but there's also some people who just get the emails, some people who just listen, and some people who are just in the Facebook group. So these 3 engaged levels of my audience are going to be the beta people. There's going to be a really special price, and it's only going to be for you guys. And I'm going to launch fully in the new year. So what this is going to look like, and I'm just really, really excited about this whole thing. I've been planning it since March, actually. I have it on my calendar on the wall. It says launch membership site in March. But I want to explain why I didn't and why I'm so glad that I didn't. And maybe there's something that you can kind of pull out of this in terms of what you're doing. So I'm the kind of person, this is an unrelated thing that I'll tie in, but I'm the kind of person that when we move into a house or I move into a space, I put things somewhere and then I look at them every day, as you do when you live in a house, and then I change them. And it takes me a couple of months. An example of this is when we moved into this house 2 years ago, I didn't paint the walls right at first. I knew I wanted to. The whole house was like a nice neutral color, but it wasn't one I wanted to keep in every room. And I've kept it in some of the rooms and painted a few others. But in our main living areas, there's one main living area. It's kind of open concept kitchen, kind of living room. And then off of that, it's a toy room for the kids. And I knew I had a color I liked in the old house, but the light here is really different. So I got that color because I already knew I liked it. And then I painted the walls all around the living room as high up as I could reach without a ladder. And then I left it for 6 months. I just looked at it every day. My husband thought I was crazy, but he understands. He's used to my brand of crazy by now. Other people that came over also thought I was crazy. But the reason I did this, besides the fact that it takes extra effort to get out a ladder, is because I really wanted to see the color in all lights of the day, because I actually found that I love the color during the day and really hate it at night. I guess hate's too strong a word. I don't like it as much as at night. In the artificial light bulb lights, it just doesn't have the same feel and temperature and everything else. It's amazing how different it actually looks. It's kind of a gray-green, little blue in there. It's very coastal, which is something I love, the beach. But at night, it looks not neon at all, but just, I don't know, more garish. But so I had to decide, for months, and I stared at this color. Can I live with this color at night? I love it during the day, but can I live with it at night? And finally, I decided yes. So I got out the ladder and finished painting. Now we have a room that's painted. But it did take me a couple of months, not just because I'm busy, but because I like to look at things for a long time and really think about them, because then I have a better understanding of where they should go. So the same thing with this membership site. I could have launched in March and was all set to. It was on the calendar, so it should have happened, right? But in the months following, I was able to really think about, okay, what does this look like for me? Because it's really easy to go look around at people launching membership sites and seeing the back end of those and what that looks like. And I have seen some of those. And I don't know, I got to look at them. It was like putting that paint up on the walls. And I just wasn't sure. I wasn't ready to launch in March because I didn't know that I liked the color yet. And I'm so glad, because in that time, I think that I've really developed more of a full vision where this is not going to be, I don't know, your average membership site. I don't want to say it like that because they're all different. But I think what I want it to be, my vision for it, is to be more of a community, to be more of a group coaching, to be more of a larger mastermind type of group where it's not just going to be content. But I have a lot of content. I put up the videos on the site this week, so it's getting real. And there's probably 30 or so videos in the video library that are there for people to learn from. But also, I wanted to have, the community we have on Facebook is amazing. We're reaching like 600 people in the group. And so it's going to just become harder and harder to have the same sense of community there as it gets bigger. So I wanted a community that is still really awesome, but I think it's going to need to be smaller for, some of the benefits that I think the group has had in terms of people getting to know each other and really learning from each other. So that's a really big piece of this vision. And also, it kind of made me realize and go back to when I used to work at a church. They have you do these things called spiritual gifts tests. And it's kind of like almost like a personality test that helps you understand the things you're good at. And my number 2 gift is usually teaching, which makes sense, right? But my number 1 gift is kind of this weird one that's called shepherding. And I remember the first time I got this because I think I took my first spiritual gift test like in high school or something. And I was like, what is this weird gift? Like, this isn't singing or teaching or knowledge or wisdom. It's shepherding. We don't have sheep around here. But the shepherding gift typically means something like this. You are gifted at taking a small group of people and leading them from point A to point B. And in truth, I was really good at that. I always, when I did youth ministry, that was my actual job out of college. I worked with small groups of girls and kind of stayed with them, leading their Bible studies, hanging out with them, sharing life with them through, the years that I worked with them. That's what I'm good at. That's where my gifting is. And I think that kind of shows up in our Facebook group. But again, it's getting really big. And I don't want to have it go away. I don't want to change it. But I know it's going to continue to change as it gets bigger. Because I'm in bigger Facebook groups. And they do eventually, they keep the same tone that the person sets who's running it. And I will keep that tone. But it can't have that same intimacy level. It just can't. So anyway, the membership site, my vision for it is to use those shepherding gifts to help whoever is joining move from their point A to point B. I'd love to do some extra monthly bonus things, and I'm still kind of hammering out what these are all going to look like, but I'm so excited. So that's coming. You have to know about it. It's going to be amazing. I'm also going to relaunch my course, Own Your List, and I'm finishing the videos for that now. I was going to do that first and then the membership, but I'm actually going to do the membership first. So I kind of put that on the back burner, but that's coming. And the third thing is I'm going to do a Twitter challenge in October, probably like a 15-day Twitter challenge. So if you want to hear all about these things, you've got to sign up for my email list so you can actually hear about them. So you can find that at createifwriting.com/subscribe. And if you're not in there, I'll talk about it on the podcast, but that's how you're going to get the nitty-gritty, all the information, all the links. So let me leave you with this one more time. I've given you so many links today, but I really do need to hear from you guys who are just listening. So please, can you go fill out the survey? 30 seconds. See if you can do it in under 30 seconds. Challenge. Okay. It's createifwriting.com/pod for podcast survey. createifwriting.com/pod survey. And the link will also be in whatever app you're listening to this episode in. I'm putting it in there, but not the show notes on the blog, because I want to see just who the listeners are and isolate you guys so I can know you more. Okay. Lots of information. Facebook Live, amazing. Go connect with Maria. Take the survey. Join my email list. Anything else? That seems like a lot of things for you guys to do. But if you do nothing, if you don't do anything, I'm still glad you're listening, but I do hope that you will take some action today. And I also hope you have an inspired week.